Those who follow Duggar news are aware that not all of the siblings in the family are deeply committed to IBLP. The shackles of harmful and sexist beliefs that were imposed on siblings in the guise of religion have been undone by a great number of siblings. One of the most prominent examples is Jana Duggar. In addition, she has published books on the subject. Jill, her sister, has also done the same thing. In point of fact, Jana Duggar was also featured in a recently released podcast where she discussed the gradual transformation of her beliefs and the religious practices that she and her husband are engaging in. It has come to light that Jana Duggar has also connected with this clan. The audience has picked up on a number of clues regarding the same. Currently, there is evidence that she became a member of the church that her husband, Stephen Weissman, attends. In point of fact, Jana Duggar was also featured in a recently released podcast where she discussed the gradual transformation of her beliefs and the religious practices that she and her husband are engaging in. It has come to light that Jana Duggar has also connected with this clan. The audience has picked up on a number of clues regarding the same. Currently, there is evidence that she became a member of the church that her husband, Stephen Weissman, attends. Jana Duggar refuses to follow the IBLP's harmful teachings. Over the course of the years, followers of Duggar news have witnessed a number of celebrities from the family speak out about the harmful IBLP programming they were subjected to while growing up. The Duggar sisters, Jill and Jinger, have also written books on the subject of the same subject. The social media handles of a large number of other siblings are further evidence that they no longer adhere to the principles that they were taught when they were younger. In a video, Jana was shown wearing shorts, which demonstrated that she was one of those individuals. The viewers are required to be aware of the fact that there is a rigorous dress code that requires ladies to wear only skirts and dresses in order to seem modest. Additionally, in addition to this, Jana provided her husband Stephen with a full frontal hug and referred to him as her boyfriend in a video that she uploaded to YouTube. In addition, these behaviors were frowned upon by members of the IBLP because their doctrine stated that such affection should not occur during courtship and that dating was not permitted via their teachings. Stephen's Mennonite Church is pleased to welcome Jana as a member. Although Jana Duggar has never publicly stated that she has abandoned the harmful beliefs of Baptists and Christian fundamentalists, there are numerous indications that she has done so on social media. The fact that she chooses to dress in a certain way and that she has a romantic life is sufficient evidence. By now, many who follow Duggar news are aware that she is now located in the state of Nebraska. Now that she is living in the city and away from the farm, Jana is adjusting to a number of additional developments. According to what she mentioned, everything has been really thrilling for her. Alongside her husband, one of them is also in the process of restoring her fixer-upper from the ground up. An additional significant difference is that Jana has become a member of Stephen's church. The first individual was brought up with fundamentalist teachings, whilst the second individual is a Mennonite. A notice made by the latter's church in Nebraska, East Fairview Mennonite, expressed their congratulations to the couple at the time of the news. They did so in preparation for their wedding and bestowed blessings upon them. This was reported by Sarcasm. On the other hand, Mennonites place an emphasis on peace, simplicity, and living in community in a manner that is similar to that of Jesus, whereas fundamentalist Christians follow the Bible literally and concentrate on traditional values. The way in which Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar may have responded to this new development in Jana's life is something that fans are eager to learn about. However, it is clear from her social media that she does not speak out often about matters pertaining to her life. All of the other things that have happened in the past, however, demonstrate that Jana is also modifying her faith and religion. This is something that the celebrity is doing because she is being exposed to a wide variety of other beliefs that are unlike the ones that she was conditioned to follow at home. Stay tuned to Bombshell 25 for additional details regarding the Duggar family. The Duggar family, known for their reality TV show 19 Kids and Counting, has long been synonymous with conservative Christian values. Raised in the independent Baptist faith by Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar, the family upheld strict moral codes based on fundamentalist principles. But in recent years, some members of the Duggar family have made choices that seem to diverge from the teachings they grew up with. One such shift has been observed in the life of Jana Duggar Dillard, who married Derek Dillard, a man with roots in a Mennonite church. This change has sparked considerable curiosity. How did a young woman raised in the deeply conservative world of the Duggars move away from fundamentalist teachings and embrace a different Christian tradition? The story of Jill's spiritual journey and her decision to join her husband's Mennonite church is both personal and a reflection of broader shifts in religious practices and beliefs within conservative Christian circles. The Duggar family's fundamentalist roots. To understand the significance of Jana Duggar Dillard's departure from fundamentalism, it's essential to first explore the fundamentalist teachings that shaped the Duggar family's worldview. Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar were adherents of the Independent Baptist faith, a group often associated with a strict interpretation of the Bible. The Duggars were particularly vocal about their commitment to conservative Christian values, which included rejecting secular influences such as television, worldly entertainment, and public schooling. This strict approach extended to how children were raised, training them in rigid gender roles, modesty codes, and the authority of the patriarch. The Duggar family's teachings emphasized the role of women in the home. Michelle Duggar, like many women in their faith tradition, stayed home to raise the children, and Jim Bob led the family's spiritual life. The family's religious philosophy was also deeply tied to ideas about modesty, purity, and courtship. Dating was frowned upon in favor of courtship, a more chaste approach to relationships in which the family was actively involved. Gender roles were clearly defined. Men were expected to be the leaders of the family, while women's primary responsibilities were centered on homemaking, child-rearing, and submission to their husbands. In the context of such an environment, it might seem inconceivable that one of the Duggar children would move away from these teachings. But Jana Duggar's journey is a reminder that faith is a deeply personal matter, and that religious convictions can evolve even in families that seem to hold traditional values firmly. Jana Duggar's marriage to Derek Dillard. The pivotal moment in Jill's life that would lead her to explore a different path came in 2014 when she married Derek Dillard. Derek, a former missionary and an active member of the Mennonite Church, introduced Jill to a different way of practicing Christianity. The Mennonite faith, though still a part of the broader Christian tradition, differs significantly from the fundamentalist Baptist teachings that Jill had grown up with. The Mennonite Church is known for its emphasis on peace, simplicity, and community. Although there is variation within Mennonite communities, the denomination generally advocates for a simple, non-materialistic lifestyle and prioritizes service to others. Mennonites are also pacifists, rejecting violence and war as morally wrong. This perspective is at odds with some of the more militant and politically conservative stances often held by fundamentalist Christians. When Jill married Derek, she was not just marrying a man with a different cultural background, she was also entering a new religious community. The Dillard family's Mennonite faith was characterized by a commitment to humility, personal integrity, and a more liberal approach to theology. For example, Mennonites tend to have a less rigid approach to gender roles compared to the more patriarchal structures found in fundamentalist Baptist churches. Jill's spiritual journey and the shift in beliefs. Jana Duggar's spiritual journey began to change as she adapted to her new life with Derek. As a newlywed, Jill was no longer under the direct authority of her parents. This newfound autonomy gave her the space to explore her own beliefs and evaluate them against the teachings she had received growing up. Her marriage to Derek was likely the first real challenge to the Duggar family's strict doctrinal framework. Jill began attending Derek's Mennonite church, and in doing so she was exposed to a different approach to faith and church life. Derek's church placed an emphasis on intellectual engagement with Scripture and a more open-minded approach to theological issues. This contrasted sharply with the Duggar family's more literalist and legalistic interpretation of the Bible. One of the most significant differences between the Mennonite Church and the Duggar family's Baptist faith was the concept of personal agency in faith. The Mennonite tradition tends to allow for greater individual interpretation of Scripture and more space for personal conscience in decision-making. This flexibility likely appealed to Jill as she navigated the complexities of marriage, motherhood, and a life away from the public eye. Additionally, the Mennonite approach to women's roles might have offered Jill a more balanced perspective than what she had been raised with. While Mennonites still hold to traditional values regarding family life, the community is generally more egalitarian in its approach to gender roles. Mennonite women, for instance, are encouraged to use their gifts in a variety of ways, whether that be in homemaking, education, or community service. This openness to women's participation in public life could have been an attractive element for Jill, who had grown up in an environment where women's roles were rigidly defined. The influence of Dillard's beliefs. Derek's influence on Jill's spiritual journey cannot be overstated. As someone with a background in the Mennonite tradition, Derek was able to provide Jill with a broader theological perspective that she had not been exposed to in her youth. Derek had lived overseas as a missionary, which exposed him to a variety of cultures and ways of thinking. This international perspective likely contributed to his more progressive approach to faith. One notable example of Derek's influence on Jill can be seen in their approach to parenting. While the Duggars are known for having a large family and adhering to a very specific set of child-rearing practices, Jill and Derek took a slightly different approach. They have openly talked about being more flexible in their parenting style, often focusing on creating a nurturing and open environment for their children, rather than strictly adhering to the Duggars' methods. Derek has also been vocal about his views on faith, particularly his belief that Christianity should be about love, compassion, and service to others. This emphasis on grace and mercy over legalism was something Jill seems to have embraced in her own spiritual life. As a result, Jill's spiritual views began to evolve in a direction that was less rigid and more centered on personal conviction and the shared values she and Derek held. Public perception and family reactions. Jill's decision to join Derek's Mennonite church has been met with mixed reactions, both from the public and her family. For some fans of the Duggar family, Jill's shift away from the fundamentalist teachings of her youth was seen as a sign of personal growth and independence. They admired her willingness to step outside the confines of her upbringing and explore her own faith journey. However, Jill's decision was not without its critics. Some fundamentalist supporters of the Duggar family were uncomfortable with the idea that Jill had moved away from the strict interpretation of Christianity that the Duggars espoused. Jill's decision to embrace a different Christian tradition was seen by some as a betrayal of the values that her family had worked so hard to promote. This tension was evident in the way Jill's relationship with her parents, particularly her father Jim Bob, has been portrayed in the media. At the same time, it is important to note that Jill's change in religious affiliation does not appear to have led to a complete break with her family. While there may be theological differences, Jill and her parents have continued to maintain a relationship. This speaks to the broader reality that while religious differences can create tension within families, they do not necessarily have to result in estrangement. Jill Duggar Dillard's decision to join her husband Derek Dillard's Mennonite church marks a significant departure from the strict fundamentalist teachings she grew up with. Her journey reflects a broader trend in the lives of individuals who are raised in conservative religious traditions but later seek to carve out their own spiritual paths. The shift from fundamentalism to a more progressive, community-oriented faith is not uncommon, and for Jill, it appears to have been a deeply personal decision rooted in her marriage, her family life, and her evolving understanding of what it means to follow Christ. While the Duggar family's teachings and beliefs may still hold a central place in Jill's